Welcome to the Pretty Powerful Podcast, where powerful women are interviewed every week to share real inspiring stories and incredible insight to help women or anyone break the barriers, be a part of innovation, shatter the glass ceiling, and dominate to the top of their sport, industry, or life's mission. Join us as we celebrate exceptional women and step into our power. And now, here's your host, Angela Gennari.
Hello and welcome to the Pretty Powerful Podcast. My name is Angela Gennari and I'm sitting here with Kelly Springer. How are you, Kelly?
I love that name. And I have pretty pink lipstick on, so I think we just are going to go with it.
So fun. This is going to be so much fun. So Kelly is the owner of Kelly's Choice, and she is a certified dietitian?
I'm really glad you brought that up because it's very confusing,
Yes,
right? What is
nutritionist,
what?
dietitian,
Okay.
I don't know.
So dietitian can be called a nutritionist because we now are RDN, but I don't agree with it because I work too hard for those RD letters. So I go by dietitian, but a dietitian has a scientific degree. So we have our BS in nutrition, and then have to go on for our master's and also a year of an internship. Supervised internship.
Okay, that is a lot.
So it is a lot, right? That's why I said I worked hard for those two letters. But then different states, we were talking about licensure. So different states have different licensures. So I also have it's called a CDN, which is Certified Dietitian Nutritionist. That's state of New York. But I'm also licensed in Georgia and Illinois. And basically it's like what you do. You have to go around and fill out paperwork.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do too.
Right.
So the RD is a national certification and a national test. But for licensure, it's a little bit different for each state.
So is it difficult to get licensed in each state, or is it just a matter of filling out the right paperwork?
No, it's not difficult. It's a pain in the butt, though.
Yeah,
so it's one of those, it's just money. So I am trying to see if I can advocate to change that around a little bit and make it so it's a national certification and our licensure will go all over because COVID changed everything.
Absolutely.
So now we're able to do telehealth across the nation and we should be able to help people wherever they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you know what? You and I were talking right before the podcast about my licensing for security in different states and how every state is different. And now for mine, it makes sense because we're doing physical security. But you're right, for telehealth reasons, I know you have this amazing app that you use. And in full transparency, my company just signed up with Kelly's Choice for all of my employees so that we can offer our employees some great nutrition benefits and some great health benefits that are based on nutrition and being healthy versus going to the doctor. So I love that.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the support. So we're truly trying to push into more work sites because we know that the majority of people, that's where they spend their hours.
Absolutely.
And if we can reach them through some video content, newsletters, get them a little bit of education, move them forward and make it fun at the same time. We can make a big difference.
Absolutely. So tell me, how do we start? Because I feel like we have gone so sideways in our diet and nutrition, and there's so many different diets out there, and there's so many like, okay, now we've got to look at your blood type, or is it your hormones, or is it carbs? Like, why are we getting fat? Like, what is going on?
It is really interesting, and I think it's such a confusing topic because there is a lot of people in this space. And I think everyone, right now you could be TikTok famous and you can do this, and there's all these influencers. So dietitians are based in research. We are based in science. So when someone came up to me today, just happened today, two gentlemen came up and they said, what about the blood type? And I said, as of today in 2023, we don't have enough research or science to be able to make an intelligent conversation about that. I said, in 5 years from now, that might change. So registered dietitians also have to have 75 hours of continuing ed every 5 years.
Wow.
So yes, because we have to stay up on that newest research. So this is where today, this is what I can talk about. We know inflammation is causing the majority of diseases, right?
Yes.
And that's coming from our simple sugars, the lack of fiber.
Oh, okay.
So think about the average American wakes up in the morning, right? Maybe lack of sleep.
Feeling
a little stressed out.
A little.
And goes towards that box of cereal.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what does that do? Well, right then, that's bringing in, and if that could be a fiber-rich cereal, but usually not. Usually we're going more towards the simple that does not contain fiber. So when we go down that road, what is that doing? And this is where you brought up hormones. You brought up all these things. How does it trigger?
Right.
So once we understand when that goes in, the body actually does have a reaction to it.
Right.
And it creates insulin, and it creates, this ability to store this for later, because we're eating not a half a cup, which is recommended on the box. We're eating 3 cups.
Right. Well, the bowls are bigger. You want to fill the bowl. It looks so empty.
So we have increased our portion size because of the bowl, because of the plate, because of the fork and spoon.
Yeah, they're giant.
Think about how big that spoon is now. So because we've done that, we are ingesting too much of that carbohydrate.
Okay.
So that is part of the problem too. So portion size and quality of that nutrition.
Right.
So if we can get more fiber and protein sources, basically getting back to real food. So how could we switch that breakfast?
Right.
So we could switch it to making sure that we have high quality protein, like having eggs. They're one of the highest quality of protein that you can get.
Right.
Plus it has vitamins and minerals. We add a piece of whole grain toast that says 100% or whole, and we add in fiber.
Okay.
That's going to fuel the body. That's going to maintain blood sugar levels. We're going to maintain weight, and we're going to be more productive at work.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So
think about that. One simple change,
one
right?
change. Yeah. So I have so many questions for you. Okay. So I've always eaten pretty healthy, and I've always done a good job of kind of making sure that I'm not, like, we have an 80-20 rule at my house. 80% of the time that you eat, it needs to be something healthy at home, made at home. 20%, listen, we're all going to go to a baseball game and have, popcorn and whatever. Like, it's going to happen, right? And so you can't restrict yourself that much where you're depriving yourself and now you're just miserable, or at least I would be miserable. Some people can start. If I don't have chocolate every day, I'm not a nice person. I'm a better person when I have chocolate. So I, to be nicer to everyone else.
Yes, we all were not taking your chocolate away. Just so you know,
I am a better human every day. Thank you, chocolate. So, but I used to eat cereal every single day, and it was literally just a habit. I've done it since I was a kid. It wasn't something that I craved. It was a habit. And then I broke that habit and I started having a protein shake. And then I thought, wait a minute, is this too much protein? And then I started doing fruit, and then they were like, no, that's a lot of sugar, and so I don't know what to eat anymore. And
now you do.
Now I do. Now I'm gonna have eggs and whole grain toast.
Okay, but the fruit, I want to jump on that fruit thing.
Okay.
All right. So fruit is perfectly packaged from nature. Okay.
Yes.
I know that sounds like a slogan, but it is the actual truth. So when you think about, for instance, an apple.
Okay.
It has the fiber, which is going to maintain blood sugar levels. So yes, it does have a carbohydrate source, but it has fiber. Plus it has nutrients, vitamins. It's giving your body and replacing the cells, giving you antioxidants, vitamin C.
Right.
It's giving you so much. And that's the difference. I think this is where people get confused of sugar versus sugar.
Right.
When we remove fiber from a carbohydrate source, that's the problem.
Okay.
So a fruit in its natural state is perfectly packaged with the right amount of fiber, nutrients, vitamins. Apple juice has the fiber removed.
Oh, okay.
See the difference?
Yeah, I do.
So because the fiber is removed, that's going to spur that blood sugar, that's going to spur insulin, and insulin's main job is fat storage.
Oh, okay.
So that's where if we're not getting the right amount of fiber,
right.
we're sending ourselves on that carbohydrate roller coaster.
Right. Okay.
And we're always chasing the roller coaster. So when we add fiber sources like a fruit source, we're getting that fiber. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Because, when we have carbs, of course, we all think carbs are bad carbs. Don't eat carbs. Terrible for you, right? But then you're going to have carbs in your everyday food. And even if you're staying away from bread, you're still going to get carbohydrates in another way, right? So it's just about making smart choices, I guess, and balancing it.
Correct. And if you think about plant-based foods are carbohydrates.
Yes.
Does that make sense too?
Yeah.
Because I think that's confusing. So we need to eat plants.
Right.
They are giving us the fiber source.
Right.
They're giving us the nutrients and vitamins. They're giving us that, what our bodies need. So, but those are under the carbohydrate zone.
Interesting. Okay.
So we've gotten these messages all convoluted. But when we change it and we strip out the fiber, like if we strip it out of grains, if we strip it out of the fruits, if we strip it out, then we're on the other side. Okay. So let me give you a fun analogy.
Yeah.
All right. So if you think about the rainbow.
Okay.
And carbohydrates are like the rainbow. So in this whole thing, there's all these different foods. Like I said, there's fruits, vegetables, beans. There's all these different foods. One side is pot of gold, and that's the fiber. One side is angry leprechaun.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So pot of gold side is going to give you those nutrients, vitamins, fiber. Angry leprechaun is going to give you every single health condition. So this is where the inflammation is from. This is where fiber has stripped out.
Got it.
So that's why it's confusing, because there's so many foods that fall in the rainbow.
Right.
But are we choosing pot of gold?
Right.
Are we choosing angry leprechaun?
Okay. And angry leprechaun comes from processed
when its fiber has been stripped out. Okay. So, and I hate, like, process is tough because you can still have whole grain wheat that is processed, but it hasn't been stripped. So in a grain, this is a little bit sciencey, but in a grain, you have three parts. You have a bran, a germ, and an endosperm. Okay. So that's what a whole grain. So when the label says whole or 100%, you're getting all three parts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the reason why that's important, that's where like the B vitamins and fiber are housed. Okay.
Okay.
When it's been stripped off, when you actually have the white bread that doesn't say 100% or whole,
right,
you only have the endosperm, the sugar. You have removed the bran and the germ.
I had no idea what that meant.
Again, so when you have the knowledge, now you can understand pot of gold versus angry leprechaun.
Right.
So if you're having just these simple sugars without the fiber and B vitamin, you're going to be falling to those categories.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So, all right. So we start changing our diet, and inflammation, you were saying, comes mostly from carbohydrates or
those angry leprechaun guys.
Okay, yeah. So you're taking all the good stuff out. You're taking all the good stuff out of it.
They're just going through and slashing all over, causing all these problems.
Yeah.
And because he's angry.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And it's causing our bodies to be angry. So if we can add in more of these whole foods and also lean protein sources, and we're talking today about some good healthy oils,
right?
You know, getting in good fats, because fats are also important, and those have been demonized as well.
Yeah.
So getting good healthy fat means that you're going to be getting, you don't need a ton. It's about 2 tablespoons for each meal. So you don't need a ton of fat.
Right.
But if you don't have fat, you can't absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K. Did you know that?
Wow. No, I didn't know that.
They're
was
called
interesting.
fat-soluble vitamins. And so if you don't have fat in your diet, you're going to have some deficiencies.
Wow. So, okay, so let's touch on this oil thing, because, you know, we were in a meeting earlier today and the oils were brought up because there was a company there that did sunflower oil.
Yes.
Which is so exciting, right? And so, like, I love finding new oils, especially if I can have them raw and with, like, you know, bread, whole grain bread, or something that's, you know, equally nutritious. But the smoke point is a big factor, right? And so, like, I used to cook all the time with olive oil, and then I was told, no, maybe not so much cooking with it because the smoke point is low. So can you kind of dissect that a little bit with me?
So different oils are made up differently, correct?
Okay.
So they're from plants, a lot of our vegetable oils, right, from plants, but they have different molecular makeups. And so they have different points where they will actually smoke. So extra virgin olive oil's smoke point is about 350 degrees.
Okay.
So if you are cooking, let's say you're doing like a stir fry and your house fills with smoke, you've turned your beautiful unsaturated fat, which is like good for your body, good for your heart, good for absorbing those nutrients and vitamins, to a trans fat. It changes the molecular makeup of that oil.
Oh, interesting.
So trans fats make it so it's stickier, they get stuck in the body, and can cause inflammation as well.
Oh,
so olive oil is good. I'm saying it's great. It has
great
plant sterols. It can help to lower your risk of heart disease. However, if you're going to cook on high temperatures, you need to use a higher temperature cooking oil.
Okay.
So, for instance, the sunflower oil is about 470.
Okay.
Or you can go with avocado oil, about the same. So then you would use a higher cooking oil for those types of cooking, or like grilling, for instance.
Okay.
So that's where understanding smoke points, you'll use the
Right.
right temperature cooking oil for what you're doing for cooking.
So what you don't want to do is have the oil smoke.
That's correct.
Okay. So if you see oil smoking, you've now changed.
Yeah.
You've changed the dynamic of what that is.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Good to
Correct.
know. Okay. Okay. So what about coconut oil? I cook with that sometimes.
So coconut oil, we talked about the difference between unsaturated fat and saturated or trans fats. So coconut oil is about 64% saturated fat.
Okay.
So saturated fat, when eaten in moderation, the body can clear it, especially if you have fiber sources. It actually can clear out. So is it, again, is it demonized? Not necessarily.
Right.
But we don't want to have a lot of it because it is stickier. It can get stuck. So if you notice that coconut oil is basically solid at room temperature, think about what that looks like inside your cells.
Oh, okay.
Versus an olive oil, which is liquid at room temperature, and that's kind of slipping through.
Interesting. Okay.
So saturated fat is also found, that's why meat comes up a lot, because it's the fat that's in it. That's why it's solid at room temperature.
Right.
That's saturated fat.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Good to know. I'm learning so much. I feel like I've gotten a whole coaching session.
This is why it's a 7-year degree.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for people who are listening, who are like, what are 3 things I can do in my day to change, the inflammation that change my health right now? Like, what 3 things should they implement in their diet, or should they take out of their diet?
Okay, so I want to talk about what to put in.
Okay.
Because that's the easiest thing.
Okay.
Making sure you don't skip meals.
Oh,
it is
okay.
extremely important, as we talked about, that blood sugar level,
Right.
hormone level, energy level. We don't want to skip meals. We want to make sure the body knows that food's coming in. So we start messing with our adrenaline and leptin and everything else. So if we are having set meal times, breakfast, lunch, dinner, the body knows things are coming. It starts really, truly revving.
Right.
And it feels satisfied. So that's number 1. I see a lot of people, if I can just change that one thing, it changes their entire health.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 2, fiber.
Uh-huh.
As I was saying, people know fiber is my favorite F word.
Okay.
Because if I could get people to eat more of these types of fiber-rich foods, it really, truly would help our health, reducing inflammation, making you feel full longer, and also giving your body what it needs. Okay, so that's number 2.
Yeah.
So fiber-rich sources do come from plants. So beans, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, lentils. So I always talk about fiber, but when we ask audiences, where do you find fiber? They're not really sure. So that's where those are some of the good examples that you can choose from.
Okay.
And then the third thing would be water.
Water. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we all could use more water in our diet, right? Because that's one of those things where it flushes all the toxins out of your system and, keeps your skin looking good. And there's a million different benefits to water. And I don't think I know anyone who gets enough of it.
We have a water goal with every single presentation I do. So it is anything. It doesn't matter if I'm talking about sleep, if I'm talking about mindful eating, if I'm talking about carbohydrates. Water is a part of all of it.
Wow.
And so just making sure, and you can put 2 cups of coffee can count towards your 64 ounces.
Okay. Well, now you've got me.
Right? You can put some tea in there. So it depends. You can add some flavor. It's okay. But if we can get more of that fluid content, it really, truly would help.
Yeah.
It does so much in the body. We have actually an entire PowerPoint just on all the things hydration does.
Wow.
So, and in that fact, it's pretty neat. I got to meet, it was a while ago, so I don't know if she's still there, but she was the head dietitian for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, fun.
And she said that hydration was so important to the performance of the athletes that they were actually docking pay for any of the athletes that were testing in the dehydration zone.
Really?
So think about that for your employer side.
Yeah, for sure.
If your staff is dehydrated, how much is it decreasing their productivity?
Oh, absolutely.
So just that one simple thing.
Interesting. Well, we have, we work outside a lot.
Yes.
We actually had an event called the Atlanta Open, which is a professional tennis event, and BioLite came through for us, and they were like, I actually interviewed the CEO of BioLite on the show. She's amazing, and they actually helped our staff stay hydrated. But it's just a lot because you're just sweating and sweating, and you're outside in July in Georgia, and I mean it's everything you can do to just stay upright.
Well, and electrolytes are a huge piece of it. That when you eat plants, they naturally have electrolytes, which help that retention of water. So it's, it really is amazing how this whole thing comes together.
Yeah, it really. Okay, so tell me, if I'm not getting enough in my diet, let's just say I don't have the appetite that I need or whatever it is, or is it okay to take supplements, or is it better to just get that from the food? Because a lot of people are really sold on a lot of these supplements right now, and I myself am one of those. Collagen and biotin and vitamin D, and just in case, can we get too much of the supplements?
Yes. Okay. So supplementation should be used when you don't get it in your diet.
Okay.
So when I first started Kelly's Choice, I was anti-supplements. Yeah. Our motto is real people promoting real food.
Right.
It wasn't until my amazing Dr. Raj who said, Kelly, if someone has food allergies or sensitivities or has autoimmune disease, there's a host of different reasons, or maybe their diet is lacking in some way, that supplementation should be used when there's lack of it in the diet.
Okay.
So that's where I truly believe if you're going to take a supplement, you should be working with a registered dietitian.
Okay.
Because we need to find out where those deficiencies lie, and also we can correct that.
Right.
We can do it, but I'm not against supplementation. I live in central New York.
Right.
I have to take vitamin D.
Right.
So I can get it naturally through eggs and things like that, but it's not enough.
Okay.
So I make sure to keep my levels up. So I check with my doctor, making sure I don't go above, because too much of a good thing is too much.
Yeah.
And so you can become toxic.
Right.
So this is where it's really important to understand, what are you getting? What does your food look like? How much supplementation do you need? Are you wasting your money?
Right.
Where could we, maybe save because you're getting it here, you don't need it there. So work with a registered dietitian on this. We also work with your physician and your pharmacist to make sure there's no drug interactions.
Right.
So this is a big conversation, and I think that people are just taking it because they're over the counter and they're really easy. And again, I'm not against them at all. We need them in certain situations, but work with a medical professional.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I actually, for a while, my son would grab a banana and eat a banana every single day before school. And then he went to the doctor and they did some blood work and they're like, your potassium is way too high. And I'm like, is that a thing? Like, that's a thing? And so we had to
your heart.
Yeah, we're like, they're like, you could literally, have negative impacts on your heart. And so we're like, okay, banana once a week now. So you want the potassium, but you don't want to overdo it.
Yes, this is the thing. Yeah. So nutrition is a science, and our bodies are really cool at how we take in nutrients and break down nutrients. And so when you understand that, understand the physiology behind it, then you're like, oh, well, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Right.
So, but potassium's an electrolyte, and it can stimulate the heart. It stimulates muscle.
Interesting.
So this is where if there's too much, that could throw things off.
Yeah. So now this is another question I have is, when you put something in a smoothie, does it change it? Do you still get the nutritional value or no?
Great question. So if you're using something like a Vitamix that is just chopping versus straining, you're still going to get nutrients.
Okay.
So, but if you're using a juicer,
right?
What did you strip out?
You just stripped out all the fiber.
Yes. Yes. So that's exactly right. So that's where I'm truly not against like a Vitamix or something like that.
Yeah.
The only thing I want you to be aware of, though, of how much is going into that smoothie, because I'll have some clients that are like, oh, well, I use a whole package of raspberries, then a banana, then
and
I'm like, whoa,
wow.
You just had like 7 servings in this one drink, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
So this is where just be aware of how much is going in there. Try to stick to 8 ounces if you're going to do a smoothie, just because you could be getting a lot. You can take down a lot in the way of that drink.
Right, because it doesn't feel like you're eating.
Exactly,
right.
exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, it's okay. Like, I am not against smoothies. It's just, I just know what's going into it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, good. So, all right. So let's talk about some of the things in the supermarket when you're walking around and there's all these like, this is organic and this is whole grain and this is fiber. Like, should we trust the packaging, or is there a place that we can go and really compare it and say, is this what I need? Is it more than what I need? Is it not enough?
So people have been bringing me labels for years, and I love that because I am the knowledgeable about what's out there.
Right.
And the marketing is really scary right now. So there's this new modified wheat thing that's come out.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've asked food scientists, I've asked everybody, what is this? Right. And no one can give me the answer. There's also things coming out like non-animal whey protein. What? Like, so if I don't know what this is, if you don't know what this is, don't eat it.
Yeah.
Because it really is a wacky time. So I get to go every year to Natural Foods Expo West. It's in Anaheim, California. It's huge.
Yeah.
And last year was the most upsetting year I've ever seen. It was plant forward.
Okay.
Frankenfoods, as you said.
Wow.
All Frankenfoods. Everything packaged in some weird way. I don't know what these things were. Yeah. And I just felt like we have slided so far to one side and we need to get back to real food.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to. And I love when my clients bring me labels because I can break it down for them. And then as soon as I'm there and they're looking at it with me, they finally, the light bulb goes on. They're like, I shouldn't have been eating that. But it took me looking at it with them.
Right.
Like, I'm not even giving them any advice yet. They're just like, all of a sudden they're like, oh,
oops.
oh. So I think if we can start looking at what is coming into our food supply, what are we putting into our bodies, and being aware of that. But again, nothing has to be perfect. And if you want to enjoy and have some luxuries and things like that, it's fine. But the majority of the time, if we can get foods that have more simple ingredients, the better. Yeah.
I always try to keep my fruit bowl full at home because that's the easiest snack to grab is an apple or an orange or banana, something like that. So, okay. So I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit because I feel like I have totally drilled you on all of the nutrition.
I could go on
let's talk about, I know, I love it. I think it's amazing and I've learned a lot. So tell me, what inspires you?
Well, I think patients inspire me because I still make sure I do private practice. Yeah. So I stay on that ground level and I get to see those moments of those aha or the person saying, I never knew that.
Right.
And making these little teeny changes makes such a huge impact. On them, and then it's a ripple effect, right? It goes down to their kids, it goes to their husband, it goes to the work site, and they're talking about it, and they feel better, and their energy goes up. So I love what I do. I get to see that direct impact.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's the easiest way to do it, right? Is have that one-on-one with somebody where you can actually see it. So I know that you've kind of gone a little bit into the tech space, which is fantastic. And that's got to just expand your reach exponentially.
It does.
So what are the challenges, but then what are the benefits of being able to do nutrition through technology?
Well, because you can move into population health. So organizations that may not have had the access, like you have a lot of contractors, that's really hard to get them together, multiple states, multiple shifts. How do you get nutrition education to them?
Right.
Technology.
Yes.
So now we have a platform that's 24/7 access, has all of this information. They can self-direct themselves. If they want to go further, they can book a registered dietitian, but we truly can reach more lives.
Yes, absolutely. And, if we can make people healthier from nutrition, they spend less time in the medical doctor's office, right? And so that's kind of the goal is let's get you healthy through food, right? And so, okay, so tell me, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
That's a bit.
That's a big
that's
question.
Another
right? Show. Listen, we have to talk.
I think believe in yourself. I think I went through a little bit of confidence issues when I was 18, and because I was kind of on my own, I was putting myself through school.
Right.
And I feel now that I have a message to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to share that message and to not be afraid. And there's exciting things in front of me. So just take it. And, if you're stuck here or there, life's going to happen. And so when a door shuts, it's just going to open another one. So
absolutely.
I think that was what I would tell myself.
Awesome. Well, I love that. And so as somebody who has spent their lifetime trying to make people healthy, and then you go into this much bigger arena where it's now, technology, and you're in workplaces and you're dealing with, major accounts. How hard was that transition from going from one patient to now you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of patients, essentially, but it's through the technology?
I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I really do. I think just being able to get out there, do live presentations still, make people feel they're a part of a community.
Yes.
And that's our goal. And to really build up our profession. We have 15 dietitians now nationally.
Wow.
And just building our profession, getting this energy, this momentum is just so exciting.
Yeah. And I think there's no better time than now, right?
It's right
because
now.
we used to have that Whole Foods thing was a normal part of life, and now it's not. It's convenient, it's on the go, it's, what is the fad diet of the week, whose TikTok is most popular about hormones and blood types and whatever else. And so, right now, understanding what nutrition really is more essential than ever, because it's not innate. We're not in that space anymore where we're eating real foods because that's what we have available. Now we have all these crazy things available, and most of them aren't food at all.
Right. So it's just the education. That's what I'm trying to do. We don't sell anything but education.
Yes.
And so putting those little tips forward today. So I hope the listeners understand that it does not have to be an all or nothing, not a good or bad.
Yeah.
It's just doing these little tiny changes that are going to make a huge difference in your health.
I love that. So as women, we often give our power away, whether it's taking criticism when we should have, stood up for ourselves, or whether it's, not believing in ourselves or giving credit to someone else that, for a job that we did. So tell me about a time that you gave your power away, and then another time that maybe you stepped into your power.
I thought I needed a male partner. And I thought that would be able to go to that table and change things for me. And I 100% realize I don't.
Yes.
And I have
Thank you.
my own power to get myself to the table. And I am trying to give that power now to my teenage daughters.
Oh, I love it.
So that they can be at the table. And I'm bringing them with me to show them that you can be at the table.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Okay, awesome. All right, Kelly. So I know I have just absolutely loved this conversation, and definitely will be talking about this all the time more. So now that I'm a Kelly's Choice client.
Yes.
But what do you wish more people knew?
I wish people associated mental health with nutrition.
Oh, wow.
I think that is a huge missing piece right now. And I keep hearing that we're focusing on mental health.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that nutrition is directly correlated.
Right.
So if I could change one thing, it'd be that, and doing that and giving that message.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, I know that what you eat has a lot to do with, your thought process, and people have anxiety and they have depression, and I've heard there's correlations between some of the foods you eat and, being able to treat autism a little bit better. Is that right?
Yes, there's a lot of new science that's emerging. We have been diving into digestive health for the past 10 years, like really getting a lot more information.
Right.
And so what we know now is that this gut biome is very diverse, and every single day we're learning more.
Yeah.
But just recently we found out that this gut biome produces 90% of our serotonin, or happiness transmitter.
Really?
Really?
Wow. That's significant.
Right?
Wow.
So if we're not feeding this gut biome, if we're not doing that, then we're not able to truly have the best mental health and the best clarity. And also it could be triggering some of these autoimmune issues, and so some of these mental health issues as well. So there's a lot more to dive into. I'm really excited for the new research that's emerging. Yeah. And we're staying on top of it as it comes out and trying to get that information to the customers, the layperson.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. That's great news. So tell me how people can reach you.
You can reach me at kellyschoice.org and also follow us on Instagram at kellyschoice_nutrition. We're doing fun stuff all the time.
Yep.
Lots of giveaways, lots of fun things because we represent some products and it's just fun.
Cool.
That's fun.
I love it.
But on our website, you can book a dietitian. And once you do, you have access to our platform. You can also get us through your work site. So ask your HR director to reach out to me.
Or the CEO of Titan Global Enterprises, because all of our employees now have access to you.
I love the CEO because they're the decision maker. Yes. So reach out, truly reach out to me. It doesn't matter if you have one employee or if you have 30,000.
Yeah.
We can work with every single budget.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
I'm so thrilled you were able to come in today and do this
this
podcast with
great.
me. This is beautiful. So thank you so much for joining us for the Pretty Powerful Podcast. You can find us at prettypowerfulpodcast.com and check us out on everywhere that podcasts are streamed. So thank you, and join us next time. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining our guests on the Pretty Powerful Podcast. And we hope you've gained new insight and learned from exceptional women. Remember to subscribe or check out this and all episodes on prettypowerfulpodcast.com. Visit us next time, and until then, step into your own power.